This week, bikes, boats, bots, and shops. Hey, welcome to Click. This week we're going to talk about locking stuff up and keeping stuff safe, which is why Lara currently has a safe on her lap.
Well, it's a safe with a bit of a difference. You know when you're at the dining table and it feels like everybody has a reason that they have to do something on their phone there and then?
Yeah.
Well, this aims to overcome that. It's somewhere to lock away your devices so that you can have some good quality family time.
Right. So does it have a key, a combination, or is it on a timer, what?
Oh, OK, well, that is the problem, because there are timer options. You can set it for an hour, overnight, for 24 hours, but there's also a passcode to be able to open it in an emergency. So whoever knows the passcode needs to also be the person with the willpower not to open it.
Right.
Plus, it's not exactly the sturdiest of devices, so if you got really desperate...
But you're the boss of the safe in your house, yeah?
Obviously.
Obviously. OK, so that's locking up your phone. Now we're going to talk about something even bigger to lock up, your bike, which no matter how good your bike lock is, runs the risk of being damaged or vandalised or having bits nicked off of it. Well, Tom Brada has been looking at the latest tech aiming to keep your cycle secure.
Over the past year, there has been a cycling boom, with shops struggling to keep up with the sheer scale of demand. But at the same time, there has been a steady flow of bike crime. Last year, there were more than 80,000 incidents of bike theft, and many, many thousands more going unreported. Like many people living in a big city, I often leave my poor bike left locked up outside, fending for itself. And unfortunately, over the last 12 months, it's received a lot of unwanted attention.
All looks normal except, oh, where are the handlebars? There's the brake cable snipped.
So my personal woes got me thinking, what pieces of tech are out there to help keep my bike safe? First up, you have the motion sensor alarm system. This is the Kinui, and it's a fairly simple device. You attach it to your saddle post using cable ties, then set the alarm using a handy remote control. And then if somebody decides to move the bike, this starts going off at over 100 decibels. If you decide to move the bike once, then it gives off a single warning shriek. If you move the bike again within 10 seconds, then it goes off blaring for around a minute. Right. And if you decide to keep on moving the bike, well, it simply keeps on going off. And then they say they want to run away with it. We're going to run away with it. It's not worth it. At 20 quid, I'd say that's a pretty effective deterrent. On the flip side, the batteries, they're not rechargeable, so you do have to replace them every few months. And if a criminal really wants to, and they do work out the source of the noise, they could disable it with a bit of brute force. This probably isn't a very good idea. That's one. Oh. And that is how it's done. Next up, we have the Skunk Lock, and from its name, you can probably guess what it has in store for me. Its creators claim it's the only bike lock in the world which will literally fight back. So inside the carbon steel frame is a hollow chamber, and inside of that is a pressurized gas. According to the creators, if you cut about 30% of the way inside, the gas should spray out, and the sheer stench alone should be enough to send any criminals running. So let's put that to the test. That smells pretty disgusting. It does absolutely stink. I'm not sure whether that would send me running, but I think I'm changing my mind every second. The problem with the lock is, any part of your bike that isn't still locked up, you know, and like if the front wheel wasn't locked up as well, then that's not going to be kept safe by that lock. And the gas isn't refillable, so once you've cut through that one time, you're going to need to get yourself a complete another lock. Yeah. Finally, we have a piece of kit which combines some of the tech that we've already seen. This is the VanMoof S3. First of all, the lock is built into the bike itself. You'll spot a little silver button here, give it a kick, and the bike immobilises, and the internal alarms are activated. So, a little bit like the Kinnoué, if you move the bike, it should give you a rather loud warning. And like the Kinnoué, the more that you mess with it, the louder the warning gets, until eventually this goes into a theft mode. And that's where things get really interesting, because they provide a peace of mind service.
I'm a bike hunter for VanMoof, so if your bike gets stolen, I will look for it. It's got a tracking system in the bike, and I can look it up on an app and go and search the area, try and track it down. Peace of mind service is if your bike should get stolen and we can't find it in 2 weeks of getting stolen, you will get a new bicycle provided by VanMoof.
As luck would have it, one bike was pinging off pretty nearby. So we jumped on our bikes and set off on the hunt. Hopefully, we're going to find the nicked VanMoof. It's a bit of a needle in a haystack, I guess. Absolutely no joy. Okay, sometimes when bikes are stolen, they get squirreled away in the alleyways. We've scoured the area and there are just too many houses about for us to narrow it down specifically enough to find the bike. That didn't go exactly to plan. For a bike which costs just under £2,000, that's a little disappointing. But there's been a development. The latest models of VanMoof are now compatible with Apple's Find My app. With Apple's network of millions and millions of devices, the location tracking could get a whole lot more accurate. After trying out all this tech, I wanted to find out what the professionals think.
I love technology, and anything that I think will help us stop crime, it's music to my ears. A lot of companies come to us and say, oh, we've got this latest product. So we run a bit of an innovation panel. So what we will do is look at it. We will provide a bit of advice as to whether it's a viable product. And I invest in some of the stuff myself. But you know what? The best crime prevention is I don't lock my bike up, I take it home with me every day.
Each of these devices have their pros and their cons, and there are plenty more clever pieces of kit out there. Sadly, you can never 100% guarantee the safety of your bike, but investing in a piece of tech can provide an extra layer of security and give you a little bit more peace of mind.
That was Tom Brada, smashing and angle grinding stuff. Wow, that's the way to work out your lockdown frustration, isn't it? Okay, let's move on from bikes to boats now, from 2 wheels to no wheels. Although, as it happens, no crew either.
Later this month, a fully autonomous boat created by a team in Plymouth is set to be one of the first of its kind to attempt to cross the Atlantic, totally uncrewed.
Paul Carter has been to meet the team behind it, who are also doing some pretty serious science along the way.
This is the moment the Mayflower 400 entered the water for the final time before it departs on its groundbreaking journey across the Atlantic to Massachusetts in the US. But unlike its namesake, which took more than 100 pilgrims to the New World in 1620, the Mayflower 400 won't have any people on board at all.
4 or 5 years ago, we were talking with folks in the city about how we were going to commemorate the 400th anniversary, sort of just an informal discussion at another meeting. And there was some talk about building a replica. And so my perspective was, let's do something that speaks to the next 400 years of the maritime enterprise. And so for me, that means building autonomous vessels to do ocean research.
It's designed and built to be completely autonomous, and while it can be piloted remotely, the hope is that once it's out of port, it will make the almost 3,500-mile journey completely unaided and become the first large autonomous vessel to make the crossing.
It should sail completely without a person intervening at all. So you would just give it a goal, like go to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and then it would look at the weather. It understands its own condition. It would be able to see everything around it with cameras and radars, and we have very sophisticated software.
Led by a team in Plymouth, along with software engineering from IBM, the boat uses the standard radar and GPS to navigate. But alongside this, 6 cameras attached to the mast of the boat feed into an AI image recognition system. Trained on a data set of over 1 million images, these are its eyes to help it to avoid oncoming ships and potential hazards. But the technology packed onto this boat is doing more than just helping it steer. As it crosses the ocean, the ship will also be conducting scientific experiments. With no space needed for food, drinking water or sleeping space, all spare room can be given over to scientific equipment, which will collect data throughout the journey.
For the science on board the vessel, we're doing some really cool experiments around things like marine mammal populations, using audio data. We're also using a new device, and actually it's a smart tongue, electronic tongue, that's going to be looking at the chemical characteristics of seawater, as well as some really exciting experiments we're doing around sea level and wave height. It's a very dangerous place at sea. There's a lot of places that are very remote that we can't send people to. It's going to be so important for our full scientific understanding of the ocean.
All this is fine in practice, but when it was out at sea, could it navigate unaided? I imagine in the future we will get used to autonomous vehicles, but seeing one actually work was slightly eerie. As it got close to other boats, it turned to avoid a collision, guided by the invisible force of technology. But after a few minutes, you almost forgot it was autonomous.
It's incredible to think that in just a few weeks' time, that's going to be heading out across the Atlantic, and just 12 days later, it'll be in America.
We're going to keep it going. It's not just one trip. It's going to do lots of things once it gets across to the other side. It may come back, it may go to the Med, but we want to inspire people to continue to do science and to explore. We don't want people to think it's all been done, because it hasn't.
Now the Mayflower's in the water, it will undergo its last round of checks and tests before departing on its voyage to the US sometime in mid-May, weather permitting. And who knows, this could be the future of ocean transport.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week plans for a fancy new rotating plank floor for the Colosseum in Rome were revealed. Broadband provider BT offered 4 million UK households half-price broadband if they receive universal credit benefits. And a Dutch couple started living inside their country's first 3D printed house. Made from concrete, it allows for new designs and less waste. Facebook's oversight board has upheld a ban on former US President Donald Trump using the site and Instagram. The board also criticised the indefinite ban Facebook had applied as a vague and standardless penalty. Facebook must now make a more clearly defined sanction. The Royal Marines are suited and booted in a new video released this week showing them boarding a boat wearing jet suits. Yes, why use the old-fashioned helicopter and rope approach when you can yell, "Request permission to come aboard, sir," from the sky? And finally, if you don't feel like doing your hair yourself, why not ask a robot to do it? MIT's Seasail Lab has developed this hairbrushing robot. The idea is to expand the skills of personal care robots that look after patients. Now it just needs to brush up on its conversation skills.
For some time now, retailers have been trying to combine the online experience with the physical one to create something that people actually want to use. And here in this concept store called Corner Shop, a few ideas are being put to the test. A Bluetooth beacon recognises that you've arrived via your smartphone, which will effectively then become your remote control for the store. Now I come to the grocery counter where I could have pre-selected what I wanted in the app and then it'll just work as a click and collect. But if I want to have a browse, see what I might fancy, then I can do that on these screens or by using the app. On a small shelf like this, the benefit isn't going to be huge. But when this Shoreditch store opens next month, it's set to become a place to experiment with lots of different retail technologies, without the risk of upsetting current customers or the other limitations that regular stores have. This actually works by the app knowing your location. That's through a mix of Bluetooth beacons, and also LiDAR sensors have been used to create a digital twin of the store. So putting together those two bits of information, the phone will know exactly what you're looking at and whether you might want it or not.
We've got a lot of computer learning models going on, so as people engage in the stores and we learn their preferences and their behaviours, we're able to vary what they experience when they come to different touch points. So we don't just use simplistic, just because you bought X, you suddenly get Y. We take in the different combinations of signals that we get.
And here's a bit of vertical farming. You can buy a mint leaf for just 3p, so avoiding any waste and just providing you with exactly what you want in the most eco-friendly way possible, hopefully. So I can just open the fridge, take out my leaf. I'm having to use a whole paper bag for one leaf. I'm not quite sure how this adds up, but anyway, that's how it works at the moment. I'll put this away in my pocket. Don't worry, everything is automatically charged to my account, so we don't need to worry about that. Here we have a screen which is using computer vision to display what's going on in the store. This will help the staff working in the store know if there's a problem they need to deal with, like if people are standing too close together or there's been a spillage. Because people will be working here, it just won't be a conventional shop assistant type job.
Central to the experience here is the use of data. This can provide a shopping trip starting online and continuing here, or vice versa. But the aim is for transparency, for the customer to understand the information that they're giving and what they're going to get back in return.
When customers onboard into the store, it's a very open dialogue that we have with them. You share X, you share your location, and we'll do this for you. We'll seamlessly recognize you when you come in the store. You give us your selfie, we'll let you try clothing on without the hassle of actually having to try it on. And then we open source all of that data in screens in the store. We show people what does a smart shop really learn about you and what doesn't it learn about you.
But move these ideas out of a concept store and into a regular one, and not everyone may feel so comfortable.
If the customer doesn't understand what the technology is doing and doesn't trust what it's doing in the background, they may be afraid to engage with it and interact with it. So retailers need to be really clear about why the technology is there and how it's being used.
And some ideas do feel more intrusive than others.
On to what I think is my favourite bit, touchless coffee. You preset in your account how you like your coffee, so when you arrive at this point, all you need to do is tap it. Your coffee will be made, it'll be charged to your account. I just hope the coffee's good. And now onto the clothes shopping bit. Here, the system is using DigiMe so that you can virtually try on clothes.
I tested the app a few months back. It creates an avatar of you for putting outfits to the test, and it does give a pretty good idea as to how something might look from straight on.
If I'd like to try this on, I scan the QR code. The app will already have a virtual me stored in it. So it means that I should be able to try this on me. There I am. My neck is looking very long, but I'm wearing the top. But what's different about this experience is I'm also getting to feel the fabric. I can actually see what the clothes are like in the flesh and do that. Although it might be easier to just go to a fitting room. I don't think that suits me, really. Anyway, it was fun to try.
This isn't about the ideas or the technology being perfect, though. Its purpose is to learn what customers might want or not want from the shops of the future.
Did you buy the rugby shirt? Just curious.
No, it wasn't very me.
No, I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Hey, one thing that we didn't see in that shop of the future was any robots. Were there any there?
There weren't any there as part of the experience for the customers to interact with, but there was one that mapped out the whole store, and the technology is pretty centred around that digital twin which is created from that.
I see, I see. Well, as we all know, there's been much more talk about robots during the pandemic in food delivery and factories and in shops. And Jen Copestake has been to one warehouse in South London where there is something pretty incredible going on.
During the pandemic, as more people stayed home, Ocado expanded its operations. We've come to see the largest of its warehouses. Opened in 2018, it processes orders for groceries worth $1 billion per year. Ocado technology is behind the platform and the thousands of British-made robots which are exported around the world, as well as working 20 hours a day here.
So we're now in the Hive, and it's called that because the robots are operating kind of like a swarm of bees would. They're being controlled by an AI brain. The 2,400 robots here are picking orders very fast when you compare it to a human. Each robot is capable of picking a 50-item order in 5 minutes. When you compare that to a human worker, the same order could take 90 minutes.
There are over 50,000 items for the bots to choose from across 2 grids, one chilled and one at ambient temperature. Each grid is the size of 3 football fields with goods stacked 21 boxes deep.
And in terms of how the robots know what they're doing, well, we've got this Hive mind that sits and runs in the cloud, and that knows the exact location of every product in this facility, and it gets reports 10 times a second on each movement of each product, and that is doing all of the planning, working out which bot goes where, what it should pick up, where it should take it. The bots themselves don't have a lot of intelligence, but they rely on the Hive mind for their instructions.
The bots also rely on the control room, 3 people per shift who quickly fix anything that breaks down.
Sometimes bots goes into error. We identify which ones are going down and we quickly work into them. We talk to the bots, we fix them and we get them back working so there's no downtime whatsoever. And this is the bot. I'm going to go into the camera.
So it's like a 360-degree camera?
Yeah, this is how we talk to the bots. So it's telling me what the error is. So at the moment it's not balanced.
And
so
can you fix that remotely from here?
Yeah.
Each robot travels 60 kilometers per day. The total of all the bots is a distant equivalent to 4.5 times around the Earth. But humans still play a vital role in packing customers' orders, though this is also managed by artificial intelligence.
So the AI is telling you where in the bag to put the item. How many bags do you pack an hour?
400 units per hour.
It's a busy job.
It is.
Yeah.
Non-stop.
This is an area that robots are being developed to work in too.
So this is a robot that's designed to collaborate with human workers. He's picking orders for real customers and it's deciding using cameras, sensors and artificial intelligence on what order to put these groceries into the bags. So here he's got some dried mangoes. He's sensing which bag. And he's working a lot slower at the moment because I'm in his safety area.
Nav Sandhu was a delivery driver for Ocado before moving to a new role as robotic crew chief.
Do you miss your old job or do you like this job better? Or?
I do. I miss meeting people every day, but this is challenging role to say the least. I do enjoy it.
One thing the robots can't currently deal with is picking very delicate items like fruit, but arms with these capabilities are being developed in a research facility. And in the last few weeks, Ocado Technology has invested £10 million in autonomous vehicle startup Oxbotica, bringing a vision of providing a fully robotic experience from factory to kitchen closer to reality.
How fascinating was that? I remember when we went to the Amazon Centre in Seattle a couple of years ago and saw all the little robots moving the stock around there, but that hive of robots, that's even more amazing.
I love the hand for gently picking up fruit and veg, although I'm hoping it doesn't squeeze the avocados like people actually do. Why do people in the supermarket always do that? They always look like really squeezing them.
It's just a nightmare, isn't it? It's just a nightmare. I think we should wrap it up there, don't you?
That seems like a good idea. You can always find us on social media throughout the week on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at BBC Click.
Thanks for watching. Don't squeeze the avocados and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.